Boiler Upload podcasts are brought to you by Reindeer Shuttle. We know driving to the airport sucks. Let Reindeer Shuttle do it for you. With 5 daily trips to Indianapolis International Airport and 3 to Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, they can do the driving for you from Purdue. With multiple pickup points on campus, they'll take you where you need to go. That's reindeershuttle.com for booking information.
Hello and welcome to the Boiler Upload podcast YouTube show. We'll be coming at you this summer. Excited to have Joe Jackson with me. Joe, I'll let you introduce where you all are online because you can kind of find your stuff all over the place. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me on. So yeah, I'm on Feed the Post is my YouTube channel. You can find me. That's where I'll have a lot of film breakdowns. Over the summer, I will have team previews out and then also breakdowns of like all the newcomers, transfers, and freshmen, which we'll talk about a few here today. And then also for Purdue coverage, Boilers in the Stands on YouTube. We do a lot of live post-game shows. Don't know exactly what the plan is this summer, but we'll have some sort of content out for sure. And then Twitter at Joe Jackson CBB, where I do like film threads of all the newcomers. But yeah, appreciate you having me on. Excited to talk about the crazy transfer portal world.
Yeah, definitely go find his YouTube page because as we look into this offseason, things are changing in the Big Ten. There will be names that if you don't do some work, and thankfully you do all the work for a lot of people, watch your videos and figure out who is coming to the Big Ten, who's changing, what teams are going to look like this year. Because if these first few weeks of the portal, which I feel like you have to just a little bit get irate that the fact that the portal opens up during tournament time is maybe the biggest indictment on the NCAA, which has plenty of indictments, both legal and metaphorical and everything else you can think of. But like, it's already gotten crazy. And we're going to touch on just, a few of the early names. And I think, unfortunately, if we're going to talk about which teams in the Big Ten made a big difference, right now there is one that stands above the rest. We were kind of talking how you look at the portal list and you're like, there's a lot of top Big Ten talent. It's all going out. The only real exception for that is IU.
Yep.
They add Ballo, who people will be recognized as the big man from Arizona. They add Kanan Carlisle from Stanford. Just your first impressions on the talent that Mike Woodson is bringing into IU.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about the fit in a second, but like in terms of talent, there's nobody. The only team that maybe could sort of be like, no, we brought in more talent is Illinois so far than IU. Obviously, Ballo's going to be great. He'll be one of the best centers in the Big Ten, especially in the Big Ten that's quietly moving more guard oriented. I mean, Ballo, he is what he is. He's really good. We'll see what the fit is next to Renew. And then the whole thing is Carlisle and Miles Rice, right? Miles Rice from Washington State. They're two kind of point guard, combo guard type that can score the ball. Neither of them shot well from three, which is going to be obviously the talking point. I do buy Carlisle's shot. I don't know if I buy Rice's shot, but I do buy Carlisle's. But yeah, those three is going to be big. Plus you get the freshman Bryson Tucker, I don't actually know what he's ranked or anything,
but I think he's the new 5-star.
Okay.
Right. So I think he was a 5-star. They lost the 5-star, replaced the 5-star.
Yeah, they lost McNeely, added Bryson Tucker. So yeah, I mean, I think it's been in terms of what you can do in the offseason, right? What you can do in the offseason is you can add talents and you can try to add fits. Mike Woodson's done a good job at adding talents. He just straight up has like no, regardless of how it turns out, you go out and you try to get the dudes, and Woodson has done that so far.
Yeah. Rivals has Bryson Tucker is the 20th best commit in the country.
Okay.
6'7", 180 small forward.
Yep.
You did touch on if you've talked to an IU fan, they're a little touchy about this subject, but the one thing Woodson's teams have been lacking, it hasn't been big men really. Khalil Ware obviously going to the NBA didn't work out as great as you wanted, but a part of that problem is a lack of shooting. Is Luke Goody the answer? Is he coming to IU? Is that where we're at here? Because they definitely need at least a shooter.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I don't have sources or anything,
Right.
so all my sources are Twitter. But that's what it sounds like is going to be Goody to IU, which is, I mean, that's a good fit for what IU needs. They have 3 scholarships open right now. Probably even 2 of them might need to be shooters.
Mhm.
Then you might 2 shooters, maybe you get another big, just kind of as a third big in the rotation. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you look at the pure percentages. Rice was 27. I think Carlisle was 32, if I remember right. Mibako was 32. Renew obviously doesn't shoot. Balo does not shoot at all. Renew will take 1 a game or whatever. We'll see if that increases. And then even off the bench, Galloway, Leal, it's not like they were great shooters. Um, so yeah, you just have a bunch of dudes that haven't been able to shoot the ball. Now, like I've said, now I just actually yesterday did the Carlisle kind of film breakdown, and I trust his shot because when you look, the pull-up threes were just absolutely tanked his percentage, and
Okay.
I assume he was 45% on open catch and shoot threes, and not the biggest sample size because he was more on-ball dominant.
Mhm.
So, slight grain of salt, but like I assume he'll play more off ball. So it's like, okay, he could probably knock down shots. And then if you are IU, the hope is one, you just dominate the interior with
Mhm.
Renew and Bala. You can't lose the interior battle to anybody. But then it's even if Rice doesn't take a jump, it's that Carlisle takes a jump and he's respectable, and then Mbako takes this sophomore year leap that isn't unreasonable. I mean, for Purdue fans, and I'm not saying I don't think Mbako is a better shooter than Lawyer at all, but like Lawyer went from what 30, what was he, 32 or something like that his freshman year to 44 this past year.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for sophomores to take a big jump shooting the ball. So you kind of hope that you add in a shooter like Luke Goody, maybe another guy that can be a little bit more movements, and you kind of just you hope it works out. Um, I don't hate it. I don't think because I think there's some that are saying it absolutely can't work. I'm definitely not there. Um, I do want to see it,
Mhm.
but I think where I'm at is I'm a little open minded. Like I think this has a chance to be fine. Because the other thing that's like it's well, IU is weird, right? And the Big Ten in the whole was weird last year, but like IU non-conference was awful. But Big Ten,
Mhm.
they finished 10-10 in the Big Ten,
Right.
and I'm feel fairly confident that this team will be better. And so it's like, where does where does that take him? Is you have this awful non-con that tanks, because they were 91st in KenPom, but they still do okay in the Big Ten. And
Right.
now you got 4 new teams in the Big Ten. So maybe it's not fair to translate one year to another, but um, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. My question is, did Mike Woodson do himself a favor by going out and getting a big man that he has to prioritize? When I
No.
watch Mbako, I think that dude should be carving people up at the 4
Hmm.
because he's huge
Yeah.
and he is skilled. And I think you can take advantage of both of those skills a lot more if you're at the 4 moving around. Just because you're playing 4 doesn't mean you're on the perimeter. If
Yeah.
anything, you're giving Renew more inside help. Now, once again, Woodson has tied himself to playing 2 bigs. And if anything, Balo is good. He does some defensive stuff better. He's tougher than Khalil Ware, which I think is something Woodson wanted. Obviously, he'll rebound the ball, but the offense is even more slogged than with Ware,
Yeah.
from how I see it. And if you're talking about playing guards who aren't lights out, IU didn't really need size. Didn't seem like Galloway's a big guard. Like you said, Mbaku's huge. So
Yeah.
is Balo good enough to make up for having to be once again playing 2 to 3 big men at all times? And I don't know if he is.
I don't, I mean, yeah, it is April. We'll see. But like, I
Zach
don't
Edey's
think
not here anymore.
true.
What Balo does in theory, eh.
Yeah, I don't love the fit. And that's where something I'm doing this year, just more as a test for myself is like I have a rating and I have a fit like numbers, letters for each. And right now, Balo, I've watched 9 transfers, so it's not like insane sample. But right now, Balo has the worst fit for me out of the 9 I've watched.
Okay.
Um, he also has like the highest rating in terms of what he
Right.
could be. But yeah, I just don't love it. I don't love the fit because now you're committing to even if you know, let's say probably what you're committing to 20 minutes of Mbako, Renew, Balo at least
Right.
a game, probably.
The
And
roster is
Mbako's
not good enough to go away from those three for long stretches of time.
yeah. And right now, I mean, they don't have another unless I'm missing
Right.
somebody, they don't have another big right now. Um like they have a lot of guards and wings, which was a big thing for them to pick up. But right now
Mhm.
they do like that's where Luke Goody could fit in because he can play the four if they choose to do that. Oh man, I don't even love Luke Good like because now I'm thinking would Luke Goody have to play the three at some points and like I don't love that. If he does commit to IU, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, I think Woodson has done a solid job of getting talent. The fit is TBD and what they want to run and kind of how they want to do it. Because I like maybe I just had a misread on Ware. I think Ware's was better than Balo. Like I would take Ware over Balo.
Certainly, if I'm playing another post guy next to
Yes, yeah, exactly. And Balo was good, but yeah, it definitely causes some kinks and just like it puts more pressure on Woodson than probably he needed. But at the same time, you get a top portal guy, so that's probably what Woodson was going for.
Yeah, I think that's part of why portal is so hard because you can't really you're not molding. You're taking things that are fully formed. And like Bala was really good last year.
Yeah, yeah.
There wasn't a roster more stretched out around him in the country. Like Johnson was a stretch four. They had like multiple stretch fours they played with. So it's going to get cramped. And I'm not sure every little bit of space away from him is like that. It's going to shrink everything on the court. That's IU's problem. I think it's a good. There will be one more piece, like you said. I don't know if Luke Goody or anyone is the exact answer to figure that out, but they do have more talent. I think from last year,
100%. I mean, yeah, last year they were starting Gabe Cupps from day one, and I like Gabe Cupps, I do, but like he should not have been starting early.
I don't know what you like about him. I'm sure he's a nice person. On the floor, doesn't bring a bunch to the table. But you did mention Illinois early. If you're talking about another team that stole an Arizona player, Killen Boswell comes over. Boswell, up and down season a little bit, had really high highs, struggled against Purdue in the Indy game. Lance Jones did a good job of closing him down a little, but they also added Trey White from Louisville and Kerry Booth from Notre Dame. This is just what Illinois is, right?
And Jake Davis.
Sorry. Yeah,
Jake Davis. From, I don't know exactly. I can pull it up. He is from, if I can find it, he's from Mercer. He's a shooter.
Mercer. This is just what Illinois is, right? Just a collection of mercenaries from all over the country. Is it enough for everything they're losing? Because they've lost their identity. I don't know where we are legally with Damask wanting a 14th COVID year, but changes are happening in their backcourt particularly.
Yeah, and right now, so they're also a team. If I have it correctly, they have four scholarships open, and I've liked some of the additions. I like Boswell is I like him as more of like the second, third option, kind of like what he was for Arizona, right? The third option behind Love and Balo. But right now, like, I don't know, Illinois has the talents currently on the roster to put him at that spot. Kerry Booth is kind of the Quincy Guerrier replacement of this stretch four hopeful. He didn't shoot the ball great at Notre Dame, but like you understand why. Like there's hope there. Super athletic,
huge.
Huge. Can sort of put the ball on the ground. I think he's 6'11" or something like that. Basically a 7-footer that plays the four. I haven't dug too much on Trey White. I know I think he's kind of like another forward type. And then Jake Davis is a shooter, kind of honestly. I don't know his exact size off the top of my head. I'll find it right now, but like feels like a Luke Goody type. In terms of what he's just going to be able to do. Yeah, 6'6", shot 41% from three. The biggest thing though is what they lose. Obviously, Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, they're gone to the draft. Well, Shannon was out of eligibility. Guerrier, Harmon, they're both gone. Transfers out, Danger, Hansberry, Goody, and then Harris also, and then Domask is probably gone, but also probably not because the NCAA can't win a court case. So like
Just,
he's probably back.
if he's back, eligibility is just done, right?
It might be. That'll be something. If that there's just because I've been a guy very much pro the portal and even just all the craziness. Like the
Mhm.
Hawk, we talked a little bit about the Hawkins and stuff, and it's like it sucks, but to me, it's just like it's just a part of what it is now.
Right.
Like it's just something you just deal with, and hopefully maybe stuff gets regulated and things improve, but it is what it is. But the eligibility stuff, like
That is the heart of it. Like it's a
yeah,
finite resource spots on a team.
yeah.
And if you're adding fifth, sixth, seventh year guy, like
Because then there's just the worry that it turns into essentially just like a semi-pro, and I guess it's kind of already there, but like purely
Aaron
more of
Kraft
like
would still be at Ohio State.
yeah, exactly.
No one wants
And
that.
so we'll see what happens. I understand I understand what he's trying to do. I don't like by the rules it doesn't make sense, but like I get what he's trying to do, double up on the red shirt and COVID year from the same year.
Mhm.
If they get him back, that's obviously huge. I mean, there's not much more need to be said than, hey, you get back arguably your best player, your second best player, probably for a big chunk of the season. But yeah, going to this year, I mean, they're going to be super young right as of right now. Now they have 4 roster spots, and Underwood's going to go get a couple dudes. Like he just is. I don't know exactly who they're targeting or anything like that. But I mean, right now it'll be 2 freshmen, 4 sophomores, and 3 juniors. That's who's on their roster right now.
Yeah, and the freshmen aren't like Morris Johnson, 6'8" guy. He's a 4-star for Rivals, 26th ranked. So like good player, tall wing. They have no heft. There is nothing there with any meat on their bones.
No.
Dane Danger leaving's a little surprised. There were at times where they just handed him the keys in the tournament, and he
Yep.
looked awesome with them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, or if just ran its course, but I was surprised that he didn't get like a focal point this season for their offense because he was a mismatch problem at times.
Yeah, especially with Hawkins gone, because that was the whole thing. Was they just wanted to play Hawkins at the 5. Defensively, it wasn't great, but offensively, it was amazing. And that I was shocked to see Danger, and then I understand because that was even before their assistant Chester Frazier just left, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was before that even, and so like, yeah, I don't know. Is Danger committed? I don't know where he went, but
I don't think he is yet, but I'll look it up.
Yeah, that was surprising because it felt like he could be the guy down low, especially with how this roster is constructed currently.
Committed to Memphis. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I mean, good for him. Hope he has a good year. But he could have been the guy. Like you have Boswell kind of running points, and then you have some shooters around him. And then he would be the guy down low. Like if his conditioning held, he could play 30 minutes a game, like at least in terms of the role. But he didn't. The Hansberry loss stings too, and that one's I think because of Frazier going to West Virginia. Same thing with Harris, and I think that's it for the transfers. But yeah, I like the guys that they brought in, but also there is a lot of work to do on this roster. There is still a lot of work. They need any sort of big. Right now, their only sort of big is Kerry Booth, and I already mentioned like he's a 4. Like I don't think you want him playing the 5 at the Big Ten level. He's 7 foot, but I don't know if he's much more than 200 pounds. And you're just kind of hoping that like, and I know that this isn't a great name for in the Purdue fandom, but like Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, you're kind of hoping he takes a step. And there was some flashes like speaking. I speak purely on the court with him because yeah. But like, I mean, there was upsides defensively. You understand that he's a confident player. He's going to shoot the ball. You hope that they fall. I could see him maybe not taking like a star level jump, but becoming a solid 6th man type for them. But
he's bigger than I thought he was too.
He's just he does that Colin Sexton like hand I'm talking about, the hand squeeze on defense where he's like, apparently I don't know, apparently that was so he wouldn't reach, but there's lots of guards on this team. I mean, you look up and down, there's lots of guards, there's lots of wings, there's just not a single big guy.
Yeah, it's
maybe
They're gonna
Jactus, but
they're gonna have a tough time with IU.
yeah,
The new big bullies of the Big Ten.
yeah. The one good thing for Illinois is, and I do like Underwood as a coach. I think he's a good coach. Is like he'll figure out what's best for this team, right? Last year it was booty ball and let Terrence Shannon go to work, and it was this 5 outs. It may not be that this year. It may be that like he'll just. I trust him more than most coaches in the Big Ten to have the willingness to adjust, and that's when you're playing their or doing their style of we're just gonna go get transfers every year and figure it out. You have to be. You just have to be.
In defense, well, not in defense. The opposite of in defense. Booty ball was just ISO ball, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of let.
As far as adjustments go,
Yeah.
The willingness to do it's one thing, but yeah. All right, so we can move on a little bit to I think obviously Michigan to me is one of the more curious looks in the Big Ten. Obviously, Dusty Mays takes over. Whole new program up there. A lot of guys leaving, a lot of guys coming in. Doug McDaniels has gone to Kansas State. Terrace Reed has gone to UConn. Michigan brings in Roddy Gale from Ohio State, who I've always liked a little bit because he just torched Purdue for like a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
But like a bigger guard that can score. What do you see from what he's brought? And were you familiar with him at Florida Atlantic and the stuff he did?
A little bit. It's an off-season goal of mine to dive into that deeper, but I know a little bit.
Just are they going to be good this year to you?
I don't think I'm pretty confident they won't be the laughingstock of the Big Ten. I'm confident for sure on that front. I think that they'll be solid. They have two more roster spots open. You probably need, if you want to make a legitimate like tourney push, you probably need some sort of like true kind of scoring guard. Roddy Gale can be that, but he's still more of like a option 2-3 type to me. I don't think they have like that number one option yet. If they can pick that up, then I feel a lot more confident. But I've liked the pieces, right? And it seems like it kind of fits what Dusty May wants to do. And just kind of being able to space the floor. You have, it was very guard oriented at FAU. And so just being able to, just kind of space the floor, attack the rim some, knock down threes. Like that was kind of what they wanted to do. Anyways, last year, defensively, it wasn't great. I also don't know. I don't know if I trust the defense a ton so far with who they've picked up. But they got some dudes that can score. And Roddy Gale, I also like. Sam Walters, I know is a big wing that can shoot. Danny Wolf's a 7-footer. I just watched his film. I was shocked watching his film. He's a 7-footer, 250, and so like he's a true big, right? He's not like I'm not comparing him to Wemby, but like Wemby's really big, but he's like scrawny type.
He's like Coleman Hawkins.
Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Like he's built, but he puts like. He plays closer to a guard. I watched a couple games, and there was multiple times he would just cross over like a guard driving to the rim, and I was like, oh. And then he would make this like the one he was getting double teamed in the post, and he made like a wrap around behind the back pass just on the money to a cutter, and I was like, oh, so you're like that's fun. That's just fun. I don't know what it translates or not, but it's just like you're just fun to watch. So that's Danny Wolf. I like what they've done just in terms of I think they have a better floor.
Right.
And I think for year one, probably that's what you want. So you want a solid floor, competing for an outside shot at the tournaments, kind of middle pack of the Big Ten. And if they can pick up kind of this more true number one option, then I feel a lot more comfortable with that. Also probably like a true point guard, as I've just kind of skimmed through, I haven't watched any. Because Trey Donaldson's a forward, I believe, right? No, Trey Donaldson's their point guard. He's the point guard from Michigan. Okay, so they got a point guard there. I haven't.
No, you're good. Yeah, they're bringing in 4 true freshmen as well. They're going to definitely be a younger team. They bring in Justin Pippen, a little bit of point guard to him, 6'3", 180.
Yeah.
And Connie Ruth is their wing for.
I think Connie Ruth's decommitted.
Did he? If so, shame on rivals.
I thought it was I think it was one of those where he like decommitted, but Michigan was still a top option.
Mm. Right now, we're showing him as committed, but I will trust you on that possibility.
Okay.
Yeah, but they will be a younger team for sure.
Yeah.
Poke around to some of the names that have kind of excited you that's coming into the Big Ten this year, because as we did talk, well, we've touched a little bit. Michigan lost a lot of guys. Penn State loses Kanye Clary. Rutgers lose Clifford Amore. Tony Perkins leaves Iowa. There was definitely a lot of talent that left.
Yep.
Who are some of the names that excite you coming into the Big Ten this season that we haven't touched on?
Yeah. So one of the that just committed yesterday, Frankie Fiddler, commits to MSU. He averaged 20 points a game at Nebraska Omaha. And he just kind of fits, like he'll be a legitimate wing for them that they just need. And I like the fit because he can get out and run. He can score the ball. I mean, he's really comfortable just getting to pull-ups, running off pin downs. He kind of just like a lot of his scoring came off of what Michigan State wants to do anyways. And so I think he fits in there. I don't know if I trust the defense, but they'll figure that out. They still need probably another big, but I like the Frankie Fiddler. I mean, you go get a 20-point per game score. I don't really care what level it's at the D1 level. Like there's going to be some scoring chops that translates.
I hear he's the next Dalton Connect.
It's
MSU people are not to be trusted.
It's a greater than 0% chance. It is not. I don't. Dalton Connect is crazy, but yeah. So that's one that pops out. We kind of mentioned Miles Rice already. I guess this is staying in Big Ten, but I like the Connor Essegian pickup for Nebraska and the Gavin Griffiths, to be honest. Of just like,
yeah, let's touch on Nebraska because, now I'm blanking on his name. The coach there,
Fred Hoiberg.
This is what he's been doing long before the portal was what the portal was, right? Like he knows how to duct tape a roster together.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he's doing. And I like Nebraska's for Griffiths and Essegian specifically because like their defense, which is especially for Essegian, is like the reason he didn't play last year. It is a man-to-man defense, but it is very much like team oriented in terms of like I think you can take a bad defender, and if you get the right pieces in Nebraska, you can make a bad defender an okay defender. And if you can get that, we know what they can do offensively with just their ability to shoot the ball and facilitating that. And like that feels like a good fit. Griffiths, I still believe in. And so I think Rutgers was arguably the worst fit possible in the Big Ten for him last year.
Number one recruit out of high school, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was their high before Harper and Bailey, but like yeah, he was their top ranked recruit ever. But they couldn't do anything on offense, and he's going to be good, I think, as like the secondary, like, hey, I'm going to kick the ball out to you, and now you have an open three or can drive. Nebraska added Raleigh Worcester. No, he's a point guard from Utah. Kind of fill that hole of because even last year they didn't really have like a true point guard. It was kind of by committee. I like Bryce Williams as it. I understand it. And then Andrew Morgan is kind of, I think he's more of like a forward big type. I caught him briefly as I was watching somebody else yesterday. So I haven't dug into him too much, but I understand, the 6'10" big. I think he has a little bit of facilitating to him. It kind of just fits what Nebraska wants to do.
Yeah, it's an interesting system. They've done a good job of obviously protecting home court, and then Hoiberg has been you can tell like he didn't do well in the NBA, but like being around those guys, like you're going to pick up a thing or two, and he's done a good job of just adding a lot to this roster. And then, like you said, getting a lot out of them. They have size in weird places. They can make you uncomfortable. And to add an elite scorer, be interested to see who gets the Tamanaga role, who gets to just shoot from wherever, whenever. It's always fun.
It might be a season. Also, before we move, the biggest thing that Hoiberg did this year is he got Mass, Gary, and Williams back. Like that's
Are they
That's the
all coming
big.
back?
Unless something has changed, that which is very possible in the past week. Like
Sure.
truthfully, I could have missed it.
Yeah. I didn't
But I
see
have them
their
all as
name.
back.
Yeah. That is, yeah, because Mast was surprisingly effective inside out player. Yeah, that's a tough squad. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and yeah, they're all juniors, junior. That's going to be a very, very experienced team next year. That
Oh yeah.
if you want a dark horse to win the Big Ten next year, that's you're not going to do much worse than Nebraska. I don't think.
I don't hate it. They have 3 scholarships. I would like to probably see some sort of more true power forward type, just to have the ability to pair size next to Mast. If they, I know Gary's very good. Get that, maybe another kind of like, yeah, another just kind of all around guard, maybe not like elite, but can just give you 10, 15 minutes
Right.
and do a little bit of everything. And I like the squad. They're also, yeah, like you said, they're going to be very senior heavy again. Last year it was 8 guys that were, if you don't count COVID years, like in terms of eligibility, they were seniors.
Yep.
This year they're at 6 right now with 3 spots open.
And you can just do more as a coach if the guys like you don't have to touch on basics all the time. Like it's just a little easier. Another team that when I look at added a lot of talent, Ohio State. Aaron Bradshaw, obviously coming from Kentucky, Michi Johnson from USC. They were a disappointing team for a lot of last year, but finished strong. I assume like if you get Bruce Thornton back, if he stays, Zed Keano's gone, Jameson Battle's gone. Felix Oxparo leaving, I think hurts them a little. If Purdue could open up like 3 scholarship spots, Oxparo would be perfect because they need rim protection. But definitely think he's good. There's some talent on this roster already. And then adding in a UK guard, Michi Johnson's a good player. Is Diebler going to make this thing work right away?
Probably, or at least be solid. Like like you said, Michi with Bruce Thornton, that's going to be a really, really good backcourt. It'll be one of the better backcourts probably in the Big Ten. I hate that they lost Okpara. I hate that they lost Okpara. And
really
I think
good.
they lost Okpara because I don't actually know, but Aaron Bradshaw commits, Okpara decommits or transfers a little bit later. And I think that's a downgrade, to be honest, from Okpara to Bradshaw, especially for what they want. And so I think that's going to be a big hole to fill because Okpara, like I've said it. I mean, I've said it for 2 years. Not that they would win it either of those years, but like this year or next year, I was like, Okpara could win Defensive Player of the Year. I just think he has that level to him if he could stay out of foul trouble and stuff. It's a big hole to replace. Bradshaw didn't have a great year at Kentucky. I understand the upside is he's kind of this mobile, close to 7-footer, or I think he is 7 foot, can shoot the ball. In theory, can shoot the ball a little bit. Didn't shoot great last year. Like I understand it, but like if you were just, I would have taken Okpara over Bradshaw. But you have good guards in Thorne and Johnson. Devin Royal, I know, showed a lot of signs last year. I'm still a Taysom Chapman believer. I think this team lost, because I think they added a lot, right? You also added Micah Parrish from San Diego State. I think they lose more than probably I fully realize. I mean, you lose Scotty Middleton, that's a huge loss. Roddy Gale, Zedkey was expected. Zedkey, Battled, Bonner were expected, but Middleton, Gale, Okpara, that's
fair.
That's a good trio that you lose. Now you replace it with some good players, so I think that they'll be solid. I think the big thing is they need one of these. I'm just gonna say 3 sophomores to take a jump in Chapman, Royal, Bradshaw. Parks is probably going to need. I don't expect Parks to get a huge role this year, but if Chapman, Royal, Bradshaw, especially if 2 of those can be like solid contributors, maybe one's a starter, one's like your 6th, 7th man that you trust, then I trust this team a whole lot more. I think Mobley was a pretty high recruit, and I've heard a lot of good things about him. So maybe he can come in as a freshman right away and impact as well. But Diebler set himself up for at least to have a chance at success, and I feel like for a true first year coach, that's probably all you can ask for.
Right. Yeah, it's good that you can get people in the door.
Mhm.
You take a UK kid, that's a good sign. And a USC guy. Your message is working with people if you can take guys from those two programs, regardless of what those programs did last year. Like something is resonating with Diebler in that entire campus and everything. So it will be good to see Ohio State back again. It might take another year or two. Somewhere where there are not good vibes. Is Wisconsin just done? Was it a good run?
I mean,
What are they doing?
the losing players is what they're doing. um, I don't love it next year, and I didn't love it last year. Now they were better than I expected. I still never was, even when they were number 6 in the country, I never bought them. I never bought them as being better than Illinois.
No.
And so like kudos to them because they outperformed my expectations. Like they still were solid. I'm not taking that away, but you return that core minus your 2 most important pieces in Chucky and AJ Store, like oh, actually probably 3 most important pieces because you lose Wall too to graduation. Yeah, I don't know. And they have 3 open spots. Maybe guards kind of waiting a little bit on the portal to, for that May 1st deadline at this point, so nobody else leaves. But I just don't know. You got a lot of smaller guards. Kral is what he is. Like I like Klesmit. I like John Blackwell a lot. I don't love this team. I just don't. And unless they add something big, I don't see how I'm gonna love this team.
Yeah, because they've got, according to Rivals, 2 3-star guys coming in: Jack Robinson, Daniel Freitag.
Yep.
Neither of those guys look particularly ready to take on a full Big Ten workload. It's fallen off quick.
Yeah.
It would be a tough time to be a Wisconsin fan because that senior class never really truly lived up to what you thought they might be at one point. It looked, for a while, Chucky Hepburn, Wall, Kral, it looked like there was a strong nucleus there, and they kind of just, part of it is you run into the chainsaw of what Purdue did the last few years, and you're not that good, but it is kind of going out with a whimper up there. And if Greg Carr doesn't pull something out in this season, I would imagine his seat's going to get real warm.
The roster right now, to me, unless somebody takes this jump and John Blackwell is the guy I would be eyeing for this, like to me, and I even said it last year, it's just like I love a lot of these guys as like the 3rd or 4th option.
Right.
But like somebody has to be kind of option number 1. And that's where even last year, like when AJ Store and Chucky were on, that's when Wisconsin was, you could be like, okay, I understand why they're a top 10 team or whatever, top 15 team. And then they weren't for a month and a half, and we saw what happened there. They need some sort of just guy that can go and be the guy.
They probably need a couple of them because I don't think you can count on Kral being that night tonight. I think he's shown that he's way too inconsistent offensively. Are we prepared to add? There's 4 more teams that we have to talk about from now on.
Yep.
Are we prepared for this?
It started setting in because I started doing some prep. Even like I think it was like February, I kind of started getting stuff together, and that's when I was clicking through like the data, incoming freshman databases or whatever, and then I clicked, and I have the Big Ten alphabetically memorized. Like I know after Ohio State it's Penn State, but then I was like, oh wait, there's Oregon, and then it hits, and I was like, oh, and then even this year, I mean USC is almost an entirely new team. Washington's going to be a lot of a new team. Oregon's going to be a lot of a new team, just in terms of from their last year to this year. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't been able to dive too deep on them yet, but it is like 18 teams in the Big Ten now.
Yeah, that will be future talk. I can't tell if I'm terrified or excited that Eric Musselman is now going to be this prominent in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ready for it, to be honest. The one little trip down was enough for me to Arkansas last year, but
yeah,
this is what we get for chasing more money.
There's some sort of like a Painter coaching tree joke somewhere in there with Musselman, with like you know how Painter gets upset and then their coach just gets a bag. There's some sort of joke in there somewhere with that.
All right, we've been going on here about 50 minutes. Do you feel like we've missed anything of importance? I know there's a bunch of names and there's a bunch more to get into over the summer. But do you feel like, did we talk about Elijah Hawkins?
No, just briefly.
That was
I
off air,
briefly
wasn't it?
mentioned him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just sad day for Minnesota.
Yep.
Elijah Hawkins is one of the more terrifying players in the Big Ten when he has the ball in his hand against your team.
Yep.
Really fun guard. Looks like he stuck around through 2 cycles of, are you sure you're staying? And now it appears he is probably Kentucky bound if you're reading the tea leaves. Is that a death blow to this Minnesota team?
Yeah, it hurts a ton. Like he was their second best player behind Dawson Garcia. You could argue at times he was
their best player.
Yeah, like
I can't get over that Dawson Garcia's game is just so ugly. The jump shot's ugly. It never looks like he knows what he's doing when he's driving to the hoop. His handle's not particularly tight. And I can't get past that aesthetic. I know his numbers are great. He played well, but
yeah. It's tough for Minnesota because, like, I mean, just obviously Hawkins, but like they lose Pharrell Payne, Joshua Olo-Joseph, Braden Carrington, Isaiah Ennan. And I know a couple of those guys didn't produce a ton last year, but like now you're Minnesota with 5 open roster spots. And I think I was talking with somebody the other day and it's just like Minnesota's just a tough job for basketball. It really is. And so now you got to sell 5 roster spots. And really they're kind of in that spot too of like they have Garcia, Mitchell, and Fox who've proven themselves, right? At least respectable to good Big Ten players depending on their level.
Right.
Frank Mitchell, I know, just transferred in. I haven't seen him. And then it's Cam Christie also is very good. And then you
Christie's awesome.
Yeah, Cam Christie's awesome. Like he would be the guy. I actually just blank. I feel a little bit better now that I see his name. Like, okay, they have him at least. But then a couple of guys
concern that losing Hawkins will have a ripple effect on some of those names? Or you think it's too late?
Hopefully it's too late. Like, could it happen? Sure, especially like, I mean, Garcia would probably be the name to do it. I don't know if anybody would really come after like Mitchell. Christie, I guess, could be, but
Mike Mitchell's good.
He is good. He's
very good.
But it's whether a team can now come in and basically be the same exact thing. And now they would come into like Garcia and be like, hey, your point guard left. Like, here's this money. Why don't you just come play for us instead? Hopefully with only a week left of the portal, that it doesn't happen, but I'm sure there's at least some concern for Minnesota fans.
If they don't lose anyone and there is a good point guard on the market, I do feel like that team looks good to them. I think Mike Mitchell is the exact kind of guard you want to play with. Cam Christie is obviously a kind of wing you want to play with. You like Dawson Garcia, who can do a little bit of everything. I think if you're a ready-made point guard trying to make one big splash, that's a roster that would make sense to it. You just saw it with Elijah Hawkins last year. I mean, he came from Howard, and all of a sudden he'll be possibly playing at Kentucky next season.
Yep. No, 100%. It is a roster that if you're a big too, if you're like a center or a point guard, you kind of can look and be like, oh, there's some wing pieces surrounding this. This could be good for me.
Yeah. So that will definitely be an interest because they could still be pretty good next year. The Payne thing, I feel like he looked better than he played.
I liked Payne a lot.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Okay.
And maybe it's just, I don't know. He's just built different. And maybe that's part of it, of like just this crazy broad shoulders and all that, super strong.
Yeah, his good stuff looked really good.
Yeah, he's not like, I don't think he was like a superstar or star level, but like as your, just a quality big, gives you 20 minutes or whatever. I liked him. I think that'll be that's something they just have to replace. I think Frank Mitchell's a big, and so they'll start with him. But we'll see who else. I mean, they have 5 roster spots open. They're the only team that has more roster spots open than them right now is Washington.
there's a team in the Big Ten that has a couple big bodies and not enough room for them. And any of those names would look pretty decent on that roster.
I think I picked up who you're talking about, and yeah,
we might cover them for a living.
Yes, that's who I was thinking of. Yeah, I don't know which one it would be exactly, but
I think they all could make sense.
Fair. Yeah, no, I would. Yeah, no, I would like the fit. I would like the fit really for any of them. Maybe not TKR the most, but
no,
but even that,
I can't imagine TKR is going to go anywhere.
No,
even if there's no like rumblings or anything. This is like, even if Trey were concerned about anything, you give it 1 year to play at the best post offensive spot in the country before you decide that, oh, this isn't for me.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah.
But yeah, I think Minnesota's like 2 pieces away from really liking that team again, even with Hawkins leaving.
They just got to get them, and that's a tough thing to do for Minnesota.
Yeah. Which is, I get it. I understand why it is, but I also feel like basketball is like 12 spots. You need like 4 rich people.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's got to be like Target nephews, Target cousins.
Yeah, the
second aunts.
Like, somebody.
There's got to be a lot of Target money going around there.
That's true.
They name everything Target. Like
that is true. So. Everything. So we'll see.
Yeah. Joe, we appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and give everyone a little rundown of where they can find you again during this offseason as we try to make sense of all the portal additions, all the teams. You are the man to go to for video breakdowns of who these players are, who these coaches are, what the systems are, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, appreciate that. So you can follow me on Twitter at JoeJacksonCBB. Like I said, that'll be kind of film thread breakdowns, a little more concise, kind of, takes a minute of your time and then you move on. But you can follow, or you can subscribe to my YouTube at Feed the Post, and that is where I'll have more full length breakdowns, stuff like that. Also on YouTube for Purdue's coverage is Boilers in the Stands. We'll be back sometime soon, probably.
And we will be back as well. We'll have Joe back on during the summer at some point. Thanks for watching. It's been Boiler Upload.